Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome into Guest Blade episode number 10. Boy, can you believe we've made it this far? 10 Guest Blade episodes. And it's only been, I don't know, maybe 2 months? Man, this is really incredible. You guys really just always just surprise me. It's really, really cool. So many great people offering up their knives for Guest Blade. I am totally booked for the foreseeable future. I've got so many amazing blades coming in that I almost can't keep up, and I don't want to be, stockpiling other people's knives here in my house. And I've got a little bit more work that I'm doing aside from this. So yeah, I'm going to kind of slow down a little bit. Still going to try to put out at least one, maybe two of these a week if I'm able to. But for right now, guys, no more submissions. Thank you. I really appreciate your generosity. And when I get through the list of people that I have, I will most certainly let you guys know and open it back up for anybody who might also want to participate with this. And again, thank you all for your participation. So right now, we are going to give a big thanks. Once again, he is a three-time offender, J Diesel Joe 69. Joe just kicks all sorts of ass. He donated the Reese Weiland Wolverine. He donated that astounding Jim Burke, Jeremy Marsh collaboration, The Disciple, that I just uploaded a couple of days ago. And when he sent that, he also sent along this little gem, or big gem, as it were. And you'll see in just a few minutes just how big it really is. Ha! Anyway, so what we're going to take a look at tonight is the Gerry McGinnis intake. Now, for those that don't know, Gerry McGinnis is a really super young guy. As a matter of fact, he's still in college, which is kind of cool. Will Moon is another one of those guys that's still attending college and making knives in the little bit of free time that I would assume that they have. And he basically started in 2004, and he started making fixed blades. He's kind of an outdoorsy dude, does a lot of shooting and hunting and stuff like that. So, the natural order of things is to start with fixed blades that you're going to find a use for during those type of activities. Plus, it's a hell of a lot easier to cut your teeth on knife making doing fixed blades than start worrying about, lock geometry and pivots and detents and things like that. So when he decided to start making folders, he was actually taught the basics by Alan Foltz. And for those that don't know who Alan Foltz is, he's a Florida knife maker. And I did a video on an Alan Foltz inertia just a couple of months ago. So please do go check that out. So he got the basics from Alan and kind of went from there. And he started noticing, and this is all according to his own bio, he started noticing that other makers were making faster deploying knives than he was. And he kind of wanted to up his game. So around that time, he had actually met Matt Cucchiara. And Matt kind of helped him refine what he was doing and taught him a more perfect way of doing his detents. So after that, it's kind of been smooth sailing, and the guy does make a fast flipper, I gotta tell you. Now, this one is a little bit awkward in my hands because of its extreme length. We'll talk about the size in a moment, but it's also due to the narrowness of the handle. You can't help when you're opening it, and show how smooth this is. Okay, I thought it was smoother than that. Okay, whatever. You can't help but, when you go to hit the flipper, you can't help but squeeze down on the lock bar. And the unfortunate thing with that is that applies friction to the blade, which slows it down. So you really have to get skinny all up in here, if you can. And when you do that, it really flies out. But just a normal hold, and you're fine. You see, I don't know if you can really tell the difference, but there is a little bit of a difference. His detent really is fantastic, by the way. So let's talk about the knife in general. First off, it's really flashy. He did a beautiful job on the anodizing here. What you're looking at is obviously all titanium with a carbon fiber pocket clip. Really nicely done too, nicely sculpted, three-dimensional sculpted. This isn't just a spring clip, and that's really worth noting because a lot of makers tend to go a bit cheap on their pocket clips. And even if they do it out of a nicer material like this, it may just be a standard spring clip. And let me give you an idea of what that means. What do I have here? that has kind of a cheap spring clip, kind of like my Tenacious here. Just a regular piece of stamped steel, very, very slim, very skinny. Do I have anything else maybe on a nicer knife that has that? Not really that I can think of in my collection. Oh, actually, yeah, a knife that I do truly love. I love my Jason Clark, but, he kind of phones it in when it comes to his pocket clips. So it's a basic standard spring clip. As you see, it's very thin. Not a lot going on. Great retention. Rides great in the pocket. I just don't feel it's worthy of a knife of that caliber. So what Gerry does, he gives you a nice three-dimensional, completely sculpted clip. Does a really, really nice job. So that shows the attention to detail and the fact that he cares about the product that he's putting his name on. And that's a pretty big deal in my eyes. So what we're looking at here is a 4.375-inch blade. Oh my God, almost a 4.5-inch blade, which, by the way, is quite sharp. I haven't cut anything with it. Like I said, on my guest blades, these are not my knives to do these things with, so I don't. I mean, slicing a piece of paper, I don't think would bother anybody, but I don't really need to because I can feel that stickiness when I throw my finger against the edge there. Overall length is a whopping 9.75 inches, 9 3/4 of an inch. That's a big ass knife. Now the thing is, it's skinny and it's slim, so it doesn't weigh very much. It only weighs 5 ounces. And that's really quite incredible. You have a fairly thin blade stock, and it does taper down much slimmer toward the point, as it should. Your titanium slabs are pretty thin, and then you don't have a lot of height to it. So there's not a lot of material here, so that helps you understand why it's going to be as lightweight as it is for its size. I love how he did the grooves and the anodizing, because he really fades the anodizing in and out. So it goes to the natural titanium all the way around the edges of the frame. He didn't go just all blue, which is pretty much what you'd expect someone to do. And I just like the finishing touches by having the natural look of the satin brushed titanium going all the way around. And he really didn't neglect any areas of the knife. He did a great job, as you see. Collector's grade centering, as Greg Medford would call it. Nice and perfectly centered. As mentioned, his detents are phenomenal. See if I can get in there and show the detent ball. I don't know if it's really going to show up here. And there was something I noticed before I turned the camera on, and I don't know if the camera is going to pick it up. I can't read it right now through my viewfinder, but there is some engraving inside, and I know once I see this on screen, I'll be able to read it. So I'll let you guys read it for yourselves as long as there's enough light to pick it up. I just can't see what it is from here. So all in all, a really well-made knife. Now, it's not my style of knife. Like I said, it's too skinny. It feels a bit awkward in my hands. But it's also, in my opinion, not going to be the type of knife that you may EDC. So then that's okay. It's kind of a show, more of a show knife. His knives tend to range in the $500 to $2,000 range. From what I've seen, most of the ones I've seen of this model have hovered right around $900 to $1,200. So it's probably not a knife most people would EDC anyway. It's more of a, hey, I've got it in my pocket, I'll show it to my buddies, I may cut a couple of things here and there with it, but I mean, this isn't really going to be a hard use knife by any stretch of the imagination. The overall shape and flow of it is fantastic. Even though it's a bigger knife and it's skinny, again, that throws me off. I'd rather it be a little bit thicker in my hand. But the ergonomics with the way he's contoured the frame and shaped everything actually feels really nice. In the reverse grip, it's not really ideal for that because it really comes out far in my hand. Like I said, I wear a size large glove. So, if it was more like this, I'd be a lot happier with my thumb coming over it. Instead, when I've got the back of my hand up at the flipper, I've got a lot of room left here, and there's no jimping, so it's kind of a slick surface. No jimping anywhere on the knife. It's not made to be a tactical knife, so it's not really necessary. And I don't find that it's particularly slippery, and that's because of the shapes that he's chosen to do and where he's chosen to do them. I think if it was just this pattern all the way up here, it might give you a little bit of a hard time. When you go to flip past that really hard detent, your thumb would want to slide up and off the knife. I've had that happen on a few knives, but the way these grooves are set, it just kind of locks your thumb in there. And I don't know if that was done intentionally or it was just pure aesthetics that he decided to do that. But I think it worked out well, whether it was intentional or it was a happy accident. And yeah, look at the colors that come out of that. Isn't that gorgeous? I mean, it's a beautiful knife. Function-wise, it functions nice. And again, the detent's great. It feels nice and smooth. The CPM 154 blade, he's got a beautiful hand-rubbed satin finish throughout all of that blade. And there's a lot of blade there to have to finish. Feels like, yeah, that is a hollow grind. Goes nice, really high bevel on that. And you'll notice it's not a straight bevel. He actually comes down and gives you a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of flair to it. Nice and clean. If you look at the cutting edge, it is mirror polished. So he spent quite a lot of time doing that. And it's nice and even from what I can see here. I don't really see any faults in that grind at all. Just nice and clean. I did give it a once over with my handy dandy. I love this stuff so much. The Aegis Solutions EDC. The stuff is great. So Joe, you now have a little bit of extra rust inhibitor on that blade, but I was able to kind of wipe it down and get a nice clean look without showing up any fingerprints on the blade. The thumb ramp is pretty useful. Actually, the only jimping on this entire knife is going to be right here on the flipper tab, which I think it really does need it, because he does do a nice job of contouring the flipper. I wish everybody did this. One of the call-outs I made on the Todd Begg Bodega is that it's not rough on your hand when you want to flip it over and over and over and over all day long. And I've got some that are a little bit sharp and have corners, and they kind of dig into you, and they're kind of a pain in the ass. So he did a nice clean job all the way around. And I think it's very evident that he pays attention to the smallest of details. So I could definitely say this, McGinnis is a quality maker that I would certainly love to have one of his knives in my collection. Again, not this one, just because the style doesn't float my boat. It is beautiful, it's just not me. But I would certainly like to have one of his knives in my collection after now sampling the quality and the details, the fit and finish, the tolerances. We'll check one more thing. That is a nice solid blade in every direction. Very nicely done. So yeah, again, great work. Fantastic, clean work. And there are sometimes we love to see knives that have a lot of design in them and a lot of work done on them. And there are some, I always use GTC for an example, that I can look at one of Gus's knives that's just nothing but plain titanium and a plain satin blade. And there's so much beauty to it because he's done everything perfectly. It's when you can take a naked knife and look at it and see it for its beauty that you realize that it was made flawlessly, because any mistake is going to come out glaring. And aside from the ridges and the blue here, it's still not very ornate. If there were any glaring mistakes, you would see them very easily here under my HD lens. He does a nice clean job. And I could see owning something from him and being very, very happy with it. And I don't really think his prices, from what I've seen doing the research that I have, I don't think his prices are out of line at all for the quality that he delivers. So if maybe you've come across his stuff on maybe Arizona Custom Knives or edcknives.com, anything like that, and you're a little bit unsure because it was a name you may not have immediately recognized. He is quite new to the game when you think about it, about 10 years. Yeah, take the leap. I think you're going to be very satisfied with the overall level of quality that you're getting into. Some quick size comparisons. I will immediately whip out something that's very generic and easy to come across because somebody was giving me hell in my last video. Yeah, there is no frame of reference here for the size. They're too far apart, but that is a very common knife that pretty much everybody has had their hands on, the Tenacious. Again, another Spyderco with the Paramilitary 2. Now, let's actually compare it to knives in the right size range and see how it stacks up. So we go up against some big boys, somewhat big, the Bodega. And it's going to be a good mite larger than the Bodega. My largest folder, and my sexiest folder, my Perella Brian Ty Bangle. It's only a teeny touch longer than the Bangle overall. R.J. Martin, Q36. There's your size comparison there. F3 in the 4-inch. Quite a bit bigger. And the F3 does feel very large in the hands. And of course the large Sabenza, which most everybody, if they don't own one, they've at least handled one or seen one in real life. So there you go, there's your size comparisons. And actually, as I'm playing with all these, except for the RJ, I think this might be lighter than all of them. Great flipping action. Nice solid lockup, you can hear that. Great job overall. Alright guys, I'm going to cut it off here at this, and I'm going to try and squeak out 2 videos tonight if I can. And we'll see what's going to come up next. Don't forget to tune in for Guest Blade episode number 11. That will be the absolutely astounding collaboration between Jens Anzo and Lucas Burnley called the Zeta. I got my hands on one, and it's actually the one that when they were listed up for sale of the 10 they made available, it was actually the one that I wanted to buy, and I was too slow. I'm very fortunate that the gentleman that did get it is willing to share it with us. So get ready, because that one, I think I may have to lay down a drop cloth for that, because there might be some squirting involved. Alright guys, I will catch you later. Thanks again for watching. Click like if you like it, share it with your friends, let people know about it. We're getting so close to 5,000 subscribers, and you guys know what happens when I hit 5,000 subs, and if you don't know, go check for my video that talks about it.